Good evening,
It's on.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. When we first heard that Mr. Gramling was going to be in Texas, I asked Russ, could the Alamo Camp host Mr. Gramling to be here on Friday night, and Russ absolutely agreed, and we are thankful for the Alamo Camp for having us here tonight and being here, and I thank you all for coming. This is the first time I've met Mr. Gramling, but I want to tell you a little bit of what I know about him. In 1991 to 1999, he was the camp adjutant who started out as the General Richard Taylor Camp 1308. 1994 to 1998, 2002 to 2004, he was the camp commander of the Richard Taylor Camp. When he was elected to the commander of the Richard Taylor Camp, there were 29 members. By the end of his term, it was the largest camp in the Louisiana Division. By 2003, it was the second largest camp in the Army of the Trans-Mississippi. In 1994 and 1996, he served as second lieutenant commander of Louisiana Division. 1996, 1998, he was first lieutenant commander of Louisiana Division. 1998 to 2000, commander of the Louisiana Division. 2000 to 2002, he was the ATM commander. 2004, 2006, he was the National Chief of Heritage Defense. And I would like to point out that during this time frame, a lot of you may remember, the young lady's name was Jacqueline Duty. Jacqueline Duty was going to her high school prom, and she had a dress that was sequined as a Confederate, very similar to the Confederate battle flag. School board kicked her out. The Heritage Committee was able to get on that. Before it was over, the school board elected not to go to trial, and they settled for an unknown amount. So that was during Mr. Gramling's tenure during that time. 2006, 2008, Mr. Gramling served as Louisiana Division ATM Chief of Heritage Defense. From 2006, 2008, he was the National Time and Place Committee Chairman. 2007, 2015, he was Assessment Centennial Committee Chairman. And I think it's important to point out that 2015, the Assessment Centennial, is when a lot of our issues started coming to light. And so I would like to point out that Mr. Gramling has some experience with some of that. 2008, 2010, Councilman of the Army of Trans-Mississippi. 2010, 2012, he's National Heritage Promotion Chairman. 2014, 2016, Councilman of the Army of Trans-Mississippi. And from 2016 until right now, he is the current Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief of the Sons of Confederate Veterans. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Gramling to the Alamo Camp, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mark. I think,
All of you weren't comfortable, that was live.
I'm comfortable down here with everybody. I think from the rest of my travels up to July, I may take Mark with me. Let him introduce me to everybody.
But he left off the best part.
Married a Texas.
Married a Texas girl.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's us here. And believe me, all the goings and the travels and everything that we've done, it's been a blessing to have her with me, not behind me, but beside me. Everything we do. Last weekend we was in West Virginia for their Confederate Flag Day event. She was with me. And if any of you were here in Dallas at 16, when I was elected Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief, you heard me say that I had dragged her from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, all the way to Bakersfield, California. And it is true. Well, I may not have dragged her, but she's been with me every step of the way. And as far as the things I handed out from the year 2000 to the present, she's been right there with me. So, and I would not be able to do what I do if it wasn't for her. But and besides being my best friend, my wife, she is an excellent secretary. So, you've heard my credentials, my qualifications for Commander-in-Chief. Now, I know there are sometimes people want to serve a year or two doing something, and all of a sudden they want to go up here to the big top spot. I could have done that several years ago, but I did not want to do that. All these positions that you just heard about that I've served in, I did that for a reason. I did that because should I ever sit in that chair, everyone in those positions, I would have some understanding of what they're supposed to do. And that is one of the main reasons I strive to serve in those positions, so I can help those in those positions that would come after me. And also, if I'm in that chair, I will be able to help those people in those positions understand what it is that they're supposed to do. I'm not one that likes to go campaigning. I've had a lot of experience at it, but I don't like to go do it because what I'm doing now, as far as conventions and stuff that I plan on attending this year, I do primarily because I like to. I like visiting our membership throughout the South and in SCV. It's also as my position now, it's my duty, it's part of my job to go visit these various divisions, meet with the membership, talk to the membership, see what they got on their mind. So that, unfortunately, when you campaign, this is the bad part of that. It's having to go out there with hat in hand and say, vote for me. But I've got a lot of friends in the Sons of Confederate Veterans that understand what it takes to get to certain positions, and they have supported me all along the way. And a lot of them are sitting in this room here, and I appreciate that. And I was talking to Russ a couple of weeks ago when he asked if we could come down here. We were in Grenada, Mississippi. I was speaking to a camp there that night, and Russ called me up, and he heard that I was going to be speaking in Fort Worth tomorrow night. He said, well, can we get you down here sometime? I said, name the date. I said, all my weekends are filled, but if you want to do it on a weeknight, just let me know. We'll be there. And I thank you, Russ, for putting this together. Mainly what I wanted to do is hear from you what kind of questions you have. I don't care what it's about. If it has anything to do with the SCV as far as Commander-in-Chief, what I want to do, what I have envisioned, projects, policies, what have you, anything to do with my past experiences, I don't care. I encourage you to ask me anything, and I will answer it. And if I don't have an answer for you, I will tell you I don't have an answer for you, but I will get one. Because there's a few things going on in national that I'm not privy to, very few, but most things I can find out about. So I will probably answer your questions and throw in some other things along with it. So why don't I just go ahead and start off with anyone that has a question. Start throwing them at me.
Yep.
Yes, sir?
Let me help.
Yes.
You take that.
Okay.
Pull it out and then we'll work.
Okay.
All right, anybody have any questions? We'll start. John?
Jonathan Hammond. I want to ask you as Heritage Defense Officer for the Texas Division, is there any resources or any types of guidelines that we can have for our men as they're in the field? Just last weekend, I received several letters. Are y'all hearing me?
No.
Put it closer to your
Put it closer enough.
Okay.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right.
That's perfect. got several remarks from people in parade for the flag. And it happened to us up there in Austin. Mark experienced it. We saw a fellow running in front of us, and then a fellow on the sideline, not part of us, was arrested. And I understand that in the Irish Festival in Fort Worth, is there anything that you can provide to the divisions as far as legal do's and don'ts, what our rights are as far as defending ourselves, and anything along those lines that would help our people so that, one, we don't get hurt, but the other thing is if we defend ourselves, what are our liabilities? That's kind of a complicated question. But
Actually, if he was here, this would be something I would ask our Judge Advocate in Chief, but the way we have approached this, whether it's a parade or a rally or anything where we are in front of the public, spectators, what have you, you have to be real careful. And I know when we marched in the Monroe Mardi Gras parade, we tell the guys that are marching, whatever you do, if someone says whatever kind of negative remark they might want to say, or anything like that, it's like the old show, Smile and Wave, boys, smile and wave. Unless there's some kind of altercations, we have to be real careful. Now I know I've seen it in the past, some of our guys might get a little edgy when someone says something or bows up to them or intimidates them, whatever. To be real careful, because whatever you do, you don't want to throw that first punch, because who's the media gonna point a finger at? And that goes for rallies. And we've seen things that happen in Charlottesville and Durham, North Carolina, and all these other places. That's why we have to be real careful as an organization that when we're out in the public, that we mind our P's and Q's. Now, any kind of alterations in a parade, all I can say is we just have to be real careful and be on our guard. And if there is some kind of altercation, or someone throws a bottle at you somewhere, or something like that, get witnesses, and usually at parades, there's going to be law enforcement officers, and we even at the rally, although we hit in San Antonio last year, plenty of law enforcement. Make sure there's plenty of law enforcement around you. As law enforcement personnel, they know who is on their side. And anytime we're dealing with the public, if something happens, make sure you got witnesses and you've got someone in law enforcement there close by to help and let them take over the situation. I know it happened in San Antonio on the other side. All that was going on. Law enforcement on our side, they knew who they can count on. And for the most part, that's anywhere we go. Unfortunately, in some of the bigger cities, like what happened in Durham, the police just stepped by and let them destroy that monument. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. Even when they were arrested, and here they just recently dropped all charges. I wish I had the magic answer for stuff like that, but I don't. All we can do is keep doing what we're doing, and the best that we're doing with the resources and funds that we've got. There's only so much we can do. And you talk about heritage defense, which is in the news a lot with our monuments, some monuments being taken down and what have you. Each situation we look at it, we have to look at it differently. There's no one scenario for any monument situations. Like what happened in New Orleans is going to be different than what happened in Memphis or what's happening in Charlottesville due to state and local laws. New Orleans, that was a situation we lost decades ago. And if anybody here was in Memphis last year, when I gave a report on New Orleans, you know, what happened in New Orleans as far as other people showing up down there after the first monument was taken down. That whole situation was totally uncalled for, because they should have been down there in the first place. Because we had already lost that battle. We had already lost all of our appeals. And there was nothing else we could do legally. They were gone. I hate that when it happened, but it was gone. We lost. But when certain people outside of Louisiana took it upon themselves to go down there and, quote, protect the monuments, it turned out to be one big fiasco with, quote unquote, our people, with some of the people coming out of the bars and the clubs, and the police officers were down there. It did not help us out at all. We got a very negative response from that whole situation, and eventually it caused us in Louisiana to lose our monument protection bill. But on the other hand, something like Charlottesville, we're winning in Charlottesville because of the Virginia, because of their monument protection bill they have in Virginia. We're winning in Charlottesville. We've won in Richmond as far as Monument Avenue. Those monuments will not be bothered with. They'll stay put. So in some of these states where we have our protection bill, it helps. Unfortunately, Memphis is a whole different ballgame, because they broke several laws when they did what they did. And I can't go into it, but we are working on, the GEC is working on something for Memphis, but it's still going to take a while, because there's still a lot of negotiations going on, a lot of mediations and stuff like that going on. Yeah.
Is that video still available that you did at headquarters on how to talk to the media?
I think they sold out. I think I asked Squirrel about it. I think they sold out.
Because that would have been an excellent resource.
2005, when I was Chief of Heritage Defense, I'd done a video or DVD, Heritage Defense and Public Relations. And I had other speakers like Ron Castile, Kirk Lyons, myself, and others. It was about an hour and a half DVD. I believe they sold out. I don't think they have any more there. But like I said, each situation that we have, we'll probably attack it differently depending on what's going on. Just like in Natchitoches in the Christmas parade there, when we wouldn't able to march a couple of years ago, we're still in litigation with them to find out if we're going to be allowed to march with a battle flag or any of our flags. But that's a different situation. Some places you wouldn't be able to do that. I know at Fort Worth, y'all still march with other flags, and you have people along the sideline with the battle flags. It just depends on the situation, the location, and what's going on, how we attack these heritage situations. So, have anything else you want to kind of follow up with that?
No, I appreciate your insight on that. I'm really looking for individuals so that we don't, get into and maybe that DVD that you were talking about might address it. But what you can say to them if somebody's going to come up to video them, is it against the law to video someone?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's the problem with videotaping. Or if there's a group of you and there's an altercation, get someone to get that phone out there. I mean, they do it to us all the time. So just have it going, and you never know what it's going to pick up. And like I said, we have to understand just everything we do, especially if it's the largest city, that the courts and the media and the politicians are not on our side. That's a given. Yeah, you're going to have one or two here, around, but for the most part, they will not be on our side. So we have got to make sure all our I's are dotted, T's are crossed when we do something like that, if something happens. And if someone's got a phone there and they can record it, by all means, I would do that, you know, and have it as evidence.
Sorry.
Okay?
Beck Steiner, Camp 153. While I was political chairman of the Sierra Club here in town for 10 years, I was even chairman of that, but prior to that, politicians understand two things. They understand money and they understand numbers. Now, we had some talk here at one time, it was coming out of San Angelo, about establishing a 501(c). And we're going to keep taking the brunt end of everything until they fear us. And the way to do it is with numbers or money or both. Now, until we get that established, we need to start thinking at the national level, at the local level, division level, about maybe establishing a 501(c), where if we have the money or the votes, at the time here, we interviewed everybody from the federal level on down to the local level. They wanted our votes. We had 2,300 members here in town, and initially they painted us as a bad guy because they thought we were taking water away from babies, trying to make it look bad. And then later, when they found out we had the votes, they came to us, wanting the endorsements. So I'm telling you, I've lived this, it works. It's just a matter until we get off our can and maybe go after a 501(c), so we can do this and get the numbers. At the time, after we endorsed candidates, we sent out cards to our members saying that they passed our endorsement. Please vote for them. We even volunteered on the phone bank. We did all those things, and they know that. So I don't know what your thinking has been this month with your travels. I'd like to hear your comments on the possibility of 501(c).
I think that's, if I'm not correct, with all due respect, I believe that's 501(c)(4).
I'm sorry, C4.
We're 501(c)(3).
Yeah.
501(c)(4) is
Yeah.
political action.
Yes.
We, on a national level, used to have one about 15 years ago. I think there was people like Ron Wilson and people in that time had one going. Kirk Lyons, Chris Sullivan, people like that. And this has been brought up before, in just kind of round the campfire type meetings, GEC meetings, or what have you. It has been brought up, and it would be something that I would probably like to look into and see what the possibilities of us starting one again. Now, you bring up the politicians knowing money and votes, numbers. That's one of our biggest problems, is the votes. As everyone in here knows what just happened a few days ago in voting. You know who you want in a particular position. But until the politicians are afraid of us or they fear us, they're just going to go and do what they want to do. And it's not just Texas, it's Louisiana, Mississippi, all over the place. The politicians, we have not been able to make the politicians understand that we can put them in the unemployment line. Because so far, for the most part, we haven't been able to do that. Now, we can stand up and threaten them all day long, and we're going to vote you out and blah, blah, blah. Until we start proving that, they're not going to listen to us. And I don't know how you go about doing that until at first you start proving that you can do it. And that goes for any office, especially in the South, whether it's a councilman or a mayor or a county whatever, or parish whatever, lieutenant governor, senator, representative, it don't matter. Until you can prove that you're going to put them in the unemployment line if they go against the wishes of the citizens, they're going to keep doing it. There's no incentive to do what you want. So, and that's going to be a long-range plan. That's going to have to be a long-range thing to start showing people that we can put them in the unemployment line. It's not going to happen overnight. I've got some things that I'm working on with some people that I plan on appointing, long-range policies and projects, and it is going to be a long-range thing. We didn't lose our symbols overnight. They passed that resolution back in 1991 in NAACP. And if any of you have ever heard me speak, you've heard me read that resolution. That was in 1991. This is 27 years later. So they've been very patient at getting what they've gotten. We've got to be patient as well, because we're not going to get it all back in one night. And that's why we're going to come up with long-range policies and things put in place that will help start turning that pendulum coming back to the other side.
One of our races that I got involved with here in town, the city councilman won by 5 votes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you can, you know, the numbers on the local level anyhow. And we just had a battle here where city council was very important, and we lost the statue.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we need to think about it, at least start stuff and get it in motion and get it in movement, and let the word get out there.
Right.
You know? So it's just a matter of, when you win by 5 votes, that's pretty doggone close, and the word's out there, they get that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or the ones you helped get elected. I've gone to meetings and they saw me there, they come up and they talk to me, you know, or they recognize you, hey, you helped them get elected, or you go to them later.
Mm-hmm.
It's an open door, it's not a
Right.
closed door. I know John's been to meetings where they've shut him out, they didn't want to talk to him, you know, and he's a good guy.
Right.
So, you know, they already had their minds made up before you went in there.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe you could turn some of that around.
Right.
If I could add to it, I'd like to see the Texas Division try to establish their own 501c4 now. Let National do their thing as time goes on. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
One of the things that, that I think about, and I know we get a lot of communication, but sometimes I don't feel like there's enough trickle down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's both at the national level and both at the division level. And I try to communicate. I think we do pretty well at the brigade level and at the camp level. But I think that if we could have, just bouncing off what the gentleman was talking about in terms of voting, the NRA does a pretty good job of setting out, even the Texas, what's that, Texas Rifle, TSRA, Texas Rifles. They send out a list of who they approve in terms of their candidacy. And I think that's probably something that we could look at down the road. But one of the things that I would like to see, and the thing I wanted to ask you is, how can we better communicate with each other from where you sit to where we sit at the camp? That make sense?
Oh yeah, I've heard it a few times about communicating. That's one of our biggest problems, communications. Now, I'm not going to point my finger at any one level, because I've seen all levels guilty of not getting the word out. Yeah, national, we can probably do a little better getting some things out, but I've seen some things coming out from Tom Strain or myself, and it goes to the next level, which would be Army commanders. Then sometimes it stops. Other times they get to the division commanders, and it stops. Maybe it gets to brigade commanders, and sometimes it just, well, okay. Just like, and I'm gonna throw this out there, because we pushed this a year ago. When we had our seminar, recruiting and retention seminar in Texarkana, we was advertising it, and we advertised it, and we advertised it. And Carl Jones, our chief of heritage operations, was really pushing it to have brigade commanders there at the time, because brigade commanders are a linchpin between the camps and the division. And Carl's presentation dealt with what the brigade commanders can do and should do as far as keeping their camps in tune with what's going on. And there was probably about 105 people total, and there was only a handful of brigade commanders. I know in Louisiana we have 4 brigades, only 1 brigade commander was there. And others, there's very few brigade commanders. Now, I know it's hard sometimes, especially in an Army situation, to try to get enough people to a centralized location. And that's when I suggested that each division should have one. I know Alabama just had one a couple of weeks ago. And if that's what it takes to get more people involved, then do it. And if I can make some of them, I'll make some of them. But when you talk about communication, when we have a seminar like that, if you have one division, it is imperative that you have division leaders, brigade leaders, camp leaders at these things to know what they should know. And as far as getting communication coming on down. Other than pleading with the divisions, and in Texas and Louisiana and Arkansas, it was even worse in the AOT. We had our AOT seminar in Tennessee. There's 35 people showed up. If anyone read my article after that, I mentioned that. 16,000 members in the AOT and 35 members showed up for that AOT seminar. There's no excuse for that. None whatsoever. Unfortunately, because of the hurricanes, I wasn't able to make the one they had in the A and V, but from what I understand, they had a pretty good showing of the divisions there. But until our division